The one aspect of Big Brother that I oftentimes find myself overlooking is being a have-not. Typically in the first half of a Big Brother season, 2 to 4 players are chosen to be a have-not each week, in which the luxuries of comfort are stripped away from them. They are forced to take cold showers, eat nothing but this cartoonishly unpleasant substance called slop, and worst of all, sleep in the have-not room. The have-not room is a special space that the have-nots must stay in throughout the week, and it is designed to be as uncomfortable as possible, particularly with the beds. Sometimes the beds are tilted, sometimes you have to sleep on metal, or sometimes they just give you random objects to lay on, like a jet ski. Throughout Big Brother US history, there have been 16 have-not rooms, starting in Big Brother 11, and today we are going to rank all of them from worst to best. Consider subscribing if you aren't already, and without further ado, here is my official ranking of all the have-not rooms.
Being a have-not is terrible because you have to eat slop for a whole week, take cold showers, and also sleep in an uncomfortable room, and I don't got time for that.
Maybe this is recency bias, I'm not sure, but the have-not room that I think is the easiest to live in, and therefore the worst at doing its job, is the have-not room from Big Brother 25. First of all, I think it just straight up looks cool in there. Like it's actively a room I would want to hang out in. While the cheese bed and the hot dog bed might not look the most comfy, they're at least solid surfaces to sleep on. But the other two beds, it didn't even look like they tried to make them uncomfortable, especially the dog bed, which feels like it would be a dream to sleep on. Even the little gimmick of needing to kick yourself in the butt X amount of times when you leave the room isn't that big of a deal. So overall, not only is this a very tame have-not room, but it's actually one I'd enjoy being in. And I'm not the only person to share that sentiment, as Matt literally stayed in there the entirety of the season. It was an easy choice for last place. Up next, we have another have-not room that I actively feel like I'd enjoy being in. Okay, maybe that's a little naive of me to say, but regardless, I have Big Brother Over the Top's haunted house room at the number 15 spot. Calling this a haunted house is a huge stretch, but even ignoring that fact, this room is beyond tame. The beds are just trampolines with a spider web lining across it. I love trampolines and have fallen asleep on one many times throughout my life. And while I probably wouldn't love sleeping on one for a week straight, there are so many worse things to sleep on that we'll get to. So for me, this goes down as the second tamest have-not room in Big Brother history.
No, I hate my God! Look, haunted house!
Oh, it's not that comfy.
Still in the easy tier, up next at the number 14 spot, we have my least favorite season, Big Brother 22. The aesthetic of this room is definitely dreary, being this rusty boiler room, and I'll give it full points for that. On top of that, the players have to crouch down to the ground in order to get in and out of the room, and that is definitely inconvenient. So right off the bat, this room has two good things going for it. Unfortunately, it's brought down by the fact that the beds are just cots, which are literally made for sleeping. I feel a tad bit sadistic saying, no, they're only sleeping on cots, make it worse for them. But I'm saying it anyways. Overall, it's a pretty easy have-not room.
Oh my Lord.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God.
Whoa.
Oh my God. Why am I a have-not already on day 1?
It's awful.
I have to squeeze this next one in here at the number 13.5 spot because I admittedly thought I would release this video before Big Brother 26 started. Hope you can understand. So, the next have-not room on this list is Big Brother 26's wireframe room. For starters, I think this room looks incredible. Like, I wouldn't necessarily feel like a have-not sleeping in here. In fact, I'd feel like I got kinda lucky. The bed situation is just a flat slab, which, yeah, could give you some back problems, but as far as some of the other bed situations go, this is not bad at all. Plus, the players got actual pillows and blankets. I think it's a pretty tame have-not room, all things considered, which is why I'm putting it relatively early in the list.
This cannot be it. No.
Hard surfaces. I see hard surfaces.
I'm putting on a brave face right now. Anybody want to switch?
At the number 13 spot, we conveniently have Big Brother 13's have-not room, which looked like just an insane asylum padded room. It's definitely not the most ideal living space, and the bright lights that never shut off would annoy the hell out of me, But all things considered, it doesn't actually seem too bad. At the very least, the bedding is padded and there is a decent amount of space to lay down, making it seem like sleeping wouldn't be too much of an issue. I also like the mint coloring. That doesn't really have anything to do with this, but I wanted to point it out.
Oh no! This looks like an insane asylum, doesn't it?
Oh, it's a padded room.
The lights in the room cannot be turned off ever. Ever.
Up next, at the number 12 spot, we have the very first have-not room ever, that being Big Brother 11's metal room. This room is very minimalist and simple, as it was basically just a room covered head to toe in metal. The bed was, you guessed it, a big metal slab for the houseguests to lay on, but at least there was this itty-bitty sleeping pad to cushion yourself against the harsh metal divots. For being the first one, I think it got the job done, but it's nothing too over the top and seems pretty livable, albeit undesirable.
Oh, snap!
It looks like an insane asylum.
You all, this is not that bad.
Are you kidding?
No. I just like how tan these tights make me look.
Okay, now we're moving on to the uncomfortable tier, and the first have-not room here is the dentist office in Big Brother 17. We're definitely past the point of having okay-ish beds, but these dentist chairs seem like the next best thing. They've got some padding to them, and they're reclined, and while I definitely believe you'd probably still wake up in some pain, it could have been a lot worse. I think the room in general actually looks pleasant, which knocks some points off from me, and I feel like it would have been a much more effective have-not room if they made it like a dentist office from hell, but at least it's a unique and memorable concept as it is.
Oh my god, that's horrible! No!
Oh my god, it's a dentist office!
It's a little weird with the creepy, sterile-looking dentist equipment all over the place.
Yeah, you have teeth in there.
Up next, at the number 10 spot, I have Big Brother 24's underwater pool room. I feel like this room looks deceptively easy to live in, not only because the room looks nice, but also because the beds are pool floaties. People lay on pool floaties all the time because they're comfortable, so it shouldn't be that bad to sleep on it, right? You'd think maybe, but I wasn't so sure. So I did the proper journalistic thing and asked someone who actually had to endure it. Turner. After asking Turner, his response was, and I quote, "Bro, for real, it was so ass, especially because of the noise when you roll around. I was like scared to wake Jasmine up. 2 out of 10 comfort as well." Apparently, it was also freezing in there, and the houseguests only had towels to use as blankets, so overall, I can totally believe that this was a 2 out of 10 room to live in.
Oh my god. Bro. Oh, hell no. We have towels as blankets and pool floaties as our mattresses. I'm not gonna be able to sleep a wink this week. We're gonna sleep horribly.
Finishing off the uncomfortable tier, we have Big Brother 21's camp comeback room. Aside from the icky memories that I have from this room, it actually seems kinda livable in there. Of the 4 beds, 3 of them are actual mattresses, and the other one is a cot, so at least the players could sleep on things that were actually meant to be slept on. Obviously, each bed had something associated with it that made it less than ideal to lay on, but the only one I thought actually sucked to a high degree was the mattress with the springs coming out. Whoops, I'm just gonna cut in real quick. I saw another clip of the houseguests sleeping at night, and 1, it looked like you could actually cover some of the springs coming up, or there weren't that many, so that's a little bit easier. And 2, all the other beds looked a lot easier to sleep in than I originally thought, so I'm gonna move this down like 5 spots right after Big Brother 22, but it was just a lot easier to add this in than change everything. So, sorry about that.
Oh my god! What? It's beautiful!
It's actually really cool. And you have a spring coming out of your bed.
For the number 8 spot, and kicking off the very uncomfortable tier, we have one of my favorite have-not rooms aesthetic-wise, and that's Big Brother 20's circuitry and wires room. While I love the layout, I don't think it would have been super fun to sleep here, as the beds were just these circular discs placed throughout the room. Unless you're curled up in the fetal position, you're gonna have some limbs hanging off while you're asleep, likely leading to some all-around body aches after waking up. At the very least, the houseguests could pad the saucers with pillows and blankets so they weren't just sleeping on the hard plastic. But I feel like I would get so sick of sleeping in a shallow bowl after just a single night, so for that reason, it makes the top half of my list.
Yo, I can't sleep in this.
You sleep in it? Yes, you sleep in it. That's what you're sleeping.
Caitlin's fine.
Up next, at number 7, we have one that I really struggled to rank, and that's Big Brother 16's Icebox Room. The room was designed to look as cold as possible, with each mattress being frozen over with ice. While it at the very least is a flat surface, that's literally all it is. A hard, flat, plastic surface. It's basic, sure, but certainly not comfortable. The reason I struggled to rank this room is because I don't know how cold it actually was. I can't imagine that the thermostat that read 0 degrees Fahrenheit was accurate, because that would eventually kill the house guests. But I do believe it was likely a decent bit colder in there than the rest of the house. All things considered, I think it was a pretty unpleasant have-not room to live in, and it has room to go up on the list depending on what the actual temperature was like.
Emergency blankets and pads. Oh my god, dude, you're gonna have to sleep on this? It looks like freaking Antarctica in here. These 4 have-nots volunteered, but after this week, they're gonna be crying to their mommies. It's so damn cold.
Alright, coming in at number 6, we have one of the more recent rooms, and that's Big Brother 23's Below Deck room. At first glance, I thought that this room was not so bad, but on a relook, holy shit, this room would have sucked to sleep in. Of the 4 beds, 2 of them actually seemed okay, as they had a small mattress or pad that they could use, but the other 2 beds were funky in the worst of ways. One of them was not only split down the middle, meaning that it was actually meant for 2 people to sleep on either side, but it also rocked forwards and backwards depending on if you shifted your weight. That meant that if either you or the other person moved it all throughout the night, you were both going for a little ride, which sounds miserable. And then the other bed was just a f***ing jet ski. I give big props to the design team on this, because choosing to just throw a jet ski in the have-not room and call it a day is actually incredibly unique and funny, but wow, oh wow, did it look uncomfortable to sleep on. So when you combine all of that with the rusty aesthetic, I think this becomes a very underrated have-not room that I am happy to never have slept in.
Ah, damn. There's a damn jet ski in the bed.
Definitely not looking forward to the cold showers.
Kicking off the top 5, we have one that had a very real chance of being at the number 1 spot if it weren't for one thing, and that's Big Brother 19's Spike Room. When I first saw this room, I genuinely thought that it was the most brutal have-not room ever created, and that it would be borderline impossible to sleep in there, all thanks to the 32 evenly placed spikes on the bed. How would anyone be able to sleep on this? Well, the players were allowed to place cushions and blankets on the spikes, which kinda took away from the spikes doing their job. But if the Princess and the Pea taught me anything, it's that these house guests could still feel the spikes, even if it wasn't to the full intended effect. Without the padding, this would be number 1 without a doubt, but because there was a workaround, it lands at the number 5 spot instead.
This isn't cool. Oh
my god.
What the? This have-not room sucks.
At the number 4 spot, maybe I have a room that I'm overestimating how bad it actually was, but I don't care. I have Big Brother 15's Airplane Room. The theme of this room is pretty self-explanatory. It was a plane, and the beds were airplane seats. Luckily for the players, they were able to move the armrests up so they could at least lay down, which could make it comfortable if you were 7 years old and 3 feet tall, but otherwise, it was still a very tight squeeze. The seatbelts were jutting out, which definitely couldn't be comfy to sleep on, and the actual space you had to lay down looked about a foot wide. Technically, you are sleeping on something with a cushion, but that's the only good thing I can say about this bed. It's pretty freaking bad, and I have it ranked accordingly.
What?
This is the most horrible one ever in history of Earth.
Thanks, everyone.
Where do we even sleep?
You can't get comfortable on that because the seat's not gonna move.
Coming in at the number 3 spot, we have Big Brother 12's disgusting Lake Dock from Hell room. This is probably the single worst looking room in all of Big Brother, making it an excellent choice for the have-nots to sleep in. There's gross rusty metal covering the walls, which pairs really well with the gross rusty metal containers scattered across the floor. The beds are these icky looking lawn chairs, and while that may seem more comfy than half the sleeping arrangements we've talked about, they look disgusting and are an off-putting color. The thing that really puts this room over the edge, though, is the apparent stench that carried through the room, thanks to the jars of live bugs and maggots that were scattered throughout the place. I'd say this room is one of the few that is carried by how awful the atmosphere is as opposed to the sleeping arrangements, and it's one of the few rooms in all of Big Brother that I'm actually repulsed by. So good job with this one, design team.
I knew it. No. I knew it.
Come on.
This is oh my God.
This have-not room is like a lake dock from hell, basically.
Is it maggots? Ah!
Yeah.
God, no!
Coming in at the number 2 spot, we have the physical manifestation of motion sickness, Big Brother 14's hypnotic room. The walls and floors of this room were covered head to toe in a black and white spiral with varying degrees of depth, and it was made even worse with the mirrors lining the walls, which could have only made things that much more disorienting. As for the beds, they were these diamond jutted metal slabs that not only were tilted downwards, but were also curved to the side, ensuring that you could never be sleeping straight. The final kicker here is that unlike some of the beds we've already talked about, you weren't really allowed to use any sort of padding to reduce the pain of sleeping on the jutted metal, so the bed actually had to be used as intended. I think that the mix of physical and mental pain makes this worthy of being in the top 3 most devious have-not rooms.
You got a curved horn that's angled at like a 30-degree angle, just enough that you're gonna slide. There's actual rivets of diamond plate. That's gonna kill me.
I pass out on bathroom floors at school all the time.
I'm glad it's easy for you, Ian.
And now, finally, we have reached the number 1 spot. The have-not room that I consider to be the absolute worst and most disastrous to live in is none other than Big Brother 18's carnival room. The flashing circus lights that are constantly on would already make it annoying to be in there, but I truly believe that the bed situation is one of the most evil things Big Brother has ever come up with. Bumper cars. Right off the bat, that might not seem like the worst thing, because there were plenty of pillows and blankets to make things comfortable, but then you realize that these cars are tiny. But unlike other tiny beds of the past, you can't really sprawl out or have your limbs hanging over because the bumper car covers the bottom half of the bed. So you really needed to squish yourself in there to sleep, which I can only imagine would lead to awful body aches and back pain. I really don't know how Corey, who was like 6'5", managed to sleep in there for 4 weeks. In my opinion, due to how awful it would be to fall asleep there, I consider this to be the absolute worst have-not room to live in, and therefore the best have-not room for this list.
God.
You're not gonna fit in this one, I was kidding.
Try. This one's bigger.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is. Are you not comfortable?
I can tell you're not.
I'm pretty comfortable.
And there we go. This was just a fun list I wanted to make because I feel that the have-not rooms are under-talked about for how much of an effect they actually have on a person's well-being. I wish I could have talked about the Big Brother Canada have-not rooms, but they took BBCan off of Paramount Plus and my VPN ran out. So unfortunately, I couldn't get any footage for those. If you want a ranking of both the US and Canadian have-not rooms, check out this video by Random Reality. They did a really good job going through each one, and I highly recommend you watch it because some of the Canadian ones are awful. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. If you're new here, consider subscribing. I of course need to give that extra special shout out to all of my YouTube members and patrons who are all tough enough to survive an entire summer in any have-not room. And, as always, here's a clip for you on your way out.
It's a celebration!
Let me go out.
Give me a E! Hey, it's Brett! It's Brett! Brett! He's actually my baby daddy! Yes, Brett! Oh, I'm so happy!
Whoa, welcome to The Mattrix. I'm so happy you are here with me. Here's a crazy fact. There is no number before 1000 that contains the letter A.
This is horrible.
8. This one was tricky because I thought it was spelled A-T-E. I was like, gotcha, there's an A. You probably look at me and think, wow, that guy is just your typical handsome jock with a chiseled body that was cut from stone. There goes old dreamy eyes, tough, wholesome orphans.